Hello there, my name is Pedro, I'm 28, and in this video I'd like to share my story living with myasthenia gravis. The main purpose of this video is to raise awareness about the existence of myasthenia gravis. This is a chronic disease that affects 1 in every 14,000 people, and the videos that I've watched had helped me a lot to get to know stories of people living with myasthenia gravis, as well getting tips to live a better life. Myasthenia gravis is a neuromuscular disease where our own body affects the connections between the nerves and the muscles. This causes to weaken the voluntary muscles such as arms, eyes, face, and legs, and in worst cases can even affect the lungs and the heart, which can be fatal. Currently, it's unknown why this disease develops in your body, therefore there is no cure. However, it can be treated and managed and even get to a state of remission, which means there is a lack of symptoms or very mild symptoms. MG is also known as the snowflake disease because no case is like other. This is why it's very hard to diagnose and to treat. To give you some context about my life, I live in Canada for over 3 years now, and I recently received my permanent residency. In the meantime, I was a tourist and I wasn't allowed to work, so my life was pretty sedentary, and the only activities that I had during the day was cleaning the house or rarely doing some yoga. I have always loved cleaning, so every day I could find something to clean or something to organize around the house. I even will clean my friends' houses just for fun. I was never a fan of cooking, but I thought it was one of the ways for me to help around the house, and I was good at that, so I did it. Moving forward, I started working in March 2022. It was a well-known Mexican fast food chain. I was pretty excited to finally be able to start living my life as any other person here in Canada. I was going to be able to start working and to start my social circle. This fast food chain was always so busy, always. And after working there for a week, I realized that they didn't have enough employees as they needed. I noticed this because, first of all, I didn't get my full training because I needed somebody working right away. And I realized that the area I was working in usually was for 2 people. And because I was doing the work of 2 people, I will end up so tired every day. I never complained about this because I was totally able to do the job and I was pretty excited to finally be working. I'm telling you this because it's going to be relevant later on. When I applied to the job at the Mexican restaurant, I also applied to some other places. And 2 weeks after starting to work, I got a phone call from this coffee shop company. They asked me to come for an interview, so I go. It goes really well. I like the place, I like the manager, and they offered me to start as a shift supervisor. This obviously meant a little bit more money for me and less her working. So I take the offer and I give my 2-week notice at the Mexican place to tell them that I was quitting. Until this moment, everything was fine and dandy. So I'm working at the Mexican place and it's the 2nd week of March. I start feeling really tired and waking up feeling like my body was sore. It felt like if I would have done a lot of exercise the day before. This wasn't unusual to me because I was pretty much doing labor for 8 hours, and I was expected to be tired after all that work. At the beginning of the last week of March, I started having double vision. Each of my eyes themselves had perfect vision. The problem was that the 2 images from each eye were not becoming one. This was causing me to feel dizzy and to have headaches, in addition of already feeling tired. I thought, well, this is pretty weird, so I knew something wasn't right, so I decided to go see an eye doctor. There, she explained to me that each eye had perfect vision by themselves, but because I'm very used to be on my phone for long periods of time, they were now having issues focusing while looking far. So she prescribed me these glasses, but I had to wait a week for them. By this time, I was feeling how swollen my neck and my throat were, and I even found it really hard to swallow my own saliva, so I decided to go see a doctor. It was just too much going on at the same time, and I knew something wasn't right. The doctor checks my throat, my eyes, my blood pressure, and doesn't see anything out of the norm. He tells me that he will need to get some more blood work and ultrasound on my thyroid so we can look further into it. And I had to wait a week for the results to come back. April starts, I start working at the coffee shop. I'm loving the place, my coworkers, the ambiance in general. but my symptoms were still there. So I had to tell my manager what was going on. I also told him that I was already waiting for the results and I should know what's happening with me by the end of the week. So at this point, I'm feeling weak, tired, dizzy, I have a headache, I had double vision, my neck was hurting just because I was trying to keep my head up. I couldn't even lift my arms higher than my head, and I had to sit down to rest for a few minutes every hour. I didn't even think about asking for days off, first of all, because I had only worked for less than 2 weeks, and I also wanted to show them that I wanted to work, that I wanted to be there. So in order to do that, I had to take so many aspirins and Pepto-Bismol just so I was functional. I used to take 4 shots of espresso to try to give me some energy, but of course it wasn't working. In fact, it was just making me shaky all the time. I guess all my coworkers noticed that I wasn't feeling well because they will ask me like, "Hey, what's happening? What's going on? Like, are you okay?" And to avoid a pity party for myself, I would just tell them that my neck was stiff and that I was okay. The only one that knew what was going on was my manager, and I felt like I had to tell him because I got to a point where I couldn't even move my neck because it was so swollen, and I couldn't look down because my head was just too heavy. I felt like I was gonna fall. And so the day comes to pick up my glasses, and I'm on my way to Costco, which is where I bought them. I start seeing blurry from the right eye. I still have double vision from both eyes, but the right eye looks like if I'm watching a 3D movie without the glasses. I get my glasses, my double vision from both eyes gets fixed, but I still see blurry from the right eye. I knew that I had to wait for the glasses to fully kick in, so I just decided to wait and hopefully it will get better on its own. So I keep my life going, and 2 days after, I start to feel like my eyelid is getting droopy. It was hard for people to notice because I have such small eyes, but to me, it felt really heavy, like I had to be fighting to keep it open. At the same time, I start to feel that my smile is getting weird and I couldn't smile properly. It was like my face was getting numb. Good thing was that we used to work with the mask, so it was hard for people to notice that I was feeling not well. So I have to get my blood work and the ultrasound results, and the doctor says there's nothing that suggests why I'm having all these issues. The only problem he found is that I had a vitamin D deficiency, which is the vitamin that our body produces with the sun. And he said it's not that uncommon here in Canada, especially during the months of winter. Then I tell him my new symptoms, that my eyelids was droopy and it was getting harder for me to swallow. Doctor tells me to go right away to the ER and to get a CT scan because he was worried that something was wrong with my brain. Maybe like a tumor, or maybe I was getting a stroke. He thought that it was just pretty weird that I was getting all these symptoms and nothing to explain them. I get to the hospital, I see the ER doctor, she performs some more physical tests, vision tests, and she finds nothing. So then I get the CT scan done, and she comes back and tell me that nothing's wrong, that everything looks fine. I guess I had a disappointment face because she said, "I know this is annoying, not knowing what's going on with your body, but trust me, you never want to have something wrong in a CT scan." And yeah, to be honest, I felt disappointed. I was hoping to find whatever, something that could explain why I was feeling like this. She thought that most likely it was all being caused by stress and anxiety. And being honest, I have had anxiety for a long time now. So long that I actually learned to live with it. So I didn't feel like that was affecting me that bad. But also I knew that subconscious is very powerful and can control our life without even us noticing. So she recommends that I start psychological therapy. And she also said that she will refer me to a neurologist for further tests, and they will call me to give me an appointment. So the next day I talked to my manager and I told him that I didn't have any answers yet. At this point I had to leave the house 30 minutes before my starting time just so I can walk 6 blocks and then have enough time for me to sit down and relax so I can catch my breath. I was dizzy, nauseous, I had a headache. My head was so heavy, I couldn't even lift my arms any higher than my head. I had double vision. I just couldn't do it anymore. I talked to my manager and apologized. I assured him that I was trying my hardest to even come to work, but physically I just couldn't. I was just decided to resign at that point. We spoke for a long time and he offered to give me only 2 shifts a week, and if I couldn't do those two, then do only 1 shift just so I didn't lose the job. So I was happy and I was hoping to get better and have all that time to rest. And I was happy that I still had a job, and so I said yes. The first shift of that week, I couldn't make any drinks because my head was so heavy and I couldn't do chores like sweeping or mopping, so I needed to trade with my co-workers and they totally understood. So I was very grateful for that. And then on my last shift that I had, it was a Friday. I had to go down to the basement of the shopping mall, pushing this little wagon that we had to take the garbage out. It wasn't even heavy, but to me it required so much effort. There was a moment that I actually started having a tunnel vision. I really thought I was gonna faint. And this was the time that I knew I just couldn't do it anymore. What I was most worried about is that it was my very first shift when I was in charge of the store. And I don't even know how, but I was able to finish the shift. And when I got home, I just became a rock and I slept until the next day. I was so tired. So it's already Saturday and I have Saturday and Sunday to rest. And my next shift was on Monday. Saturday, I couldn't even get out of bed. My whole body was weak. It felt like if I would have done so much exercise the day before. I spent Saturday and Sunday in bed, and Sunday afternoon I had to call my manager to quit. I knew I wasn't going to be able to work on the next day. I felt so bad in so many ways, so powerless and embarrassed. I was finally able to start my life in Canada, and now my body wasn't allowing me to do so, so it was just hard. Some days pass, some bad days where I can't move my body, some days okay, where I'm feeling 10% better, but then the next day I feel bad again. Today to see the doctor, the neurologist comes and she spends around an hour performing physical tests. She confirmed that I was very weak. She checks my previous exams and she doesn't see any reason why I'm like this. But then she asks some questions about symptoms that I didn't mention before. She asked if soapy water was getting into my eyes in the shower, even when I had the eyes closed. She asked if I got tired while looking out for long periods of time. And she asked if I was having issues chewing food or if my jaw ever felt weak. So I said yes to all of them. And this is the first time she mentions Myasthenia Gravis. She didn't believe it was Myasthenia Gravis, but just to be sure, she ordered the blood work. She thought it was just stress and anxiety. So she told me to start therapy, to go for walks, to get a relaxing massage, basically to start to get my life back, and my body will start working as usual as the stress and anxiety were leaving my body. And because she didn't think it was MG, I didn't really pay attention to it. She said that if such results were positive, she will call me to follow up. Otherwise, she will call me in 3 months just to see how I was doing, if I was recovering. So I go home, pretty much defeated. I told my family back in Mexico the outcome, and they asked their own doctors, most of them are naturopaths, if they had any opinion on my case. And one of them also said that it was just stress and anxiety, that it was just me who was causing my own body to be weak and tired. I talked to a friend who is a doctor in Mexico. I showed him my blood work, all my results, and he thought the same. He said it's just stress and anxiety. He told me to start therapy as soon as possible. I started going to acupuncture as complement to my therapy, And every time I went, I was feeling 5% better, but then the next day, I was going back to zero again and feeling really tired. I was so desperate to start psychological therapy. I was just so sick and tired of being like this. I was so determined to focus on my health and getting better. What was hurting the most is that I was causing this suffering to my own body. But deep inside me, I was sure it wasn't that way. But to be honest, it made some kind of sense because right before starting my job as a supervisor, I knew I was nervous and anxious. But I mean that's pretty normal because it was a new job. I was gonna have new responsibilities. And along with my therapist came to the conclusion that it was my own body giving me reasons to don't have to do that was making me so scared and worried. But at the same time, me, Pedro, conscious Pedro, I was so excited to work, to live, to be a barista again, and enjoy the world of coffee again. So I thought it was just that, my subconscious giving me a hard time. So I started my therapy. Every task that I was given by my therapist, I completed. I searched on YouTube videos about how to improve my self-esteem, how to cure my anxiety, how to love me more. I found these 3 books that were a lifesaver to me. These 3 books were When Panic Attacks, The Art of Self-Compassion, and Atomic Habits. I started a gratitude journal, writing using the law of attraction, writing a journal just so I could put my thoughts out and help me sort them out and understand myself better. I learned some mindfulness, some meditation. I tried doing my yoga every day. I declutter many apps from my phone just so I can focus better on my goal. I started avoiding junk food and artificial sugar. I searched for healthy recipes to eat better. I was so decided to get healthy and strong. The sessions with my therapist were far apart from each other. So I had lots of time to work on each of the activities and actually use all the knowledge that I was getting from them. After the third session, I was feeling so positive, so happy, very calm. I had not even a speck of social anxiety. As a fact, during that weekend, I was able to use my French in Montreal. That to me was a proof more than enough that I was on the right path of my emotional health. During that weekend, I did so many outdoor activities as I could, and I enjoyed the sun, the fresh air, some walks. On the other hand, my physical health was not improving, not even a bit. And thank God it wasn't getting worse either. At the end of each day, I was feeling so tired, I couldn't even lean over because I was sure my head will just fall and make me trip because it was so heavy. I just didn't understand how I was already feeling like $1,000,000 inside, but not improving at all on my physical being. Nowadays, we're accustomed to get everything quick right away, and I had to tell myself many times that I had to wait to be patient to see long-term results, that every good thing in life takes time. I got myself used to change every bad thought that will come to my mind for a good one or positive one as soon as I notice them in my head. On Friday, May 27th, exactly a month after I saw my neurologist, I got this email. The email were the results for my antibodies. It said that my count of acetylcholine receptor antibodies was 13.95 and that the norm is usually around 0.20. So I searched online and it said that these antibodies were commonly found in patients with MG. So I looked for the symptoms and it was like describing my life at that moment. I just knew it was it. Obviously, I had to wait until Monday for my doctor to call me and tell me that I had MG. And so she did. She explained to me all the options of treatments that I had. I already knew what my options were and their side effects. So I decided to go with methadone 60 milligrams up to 3 times a day. And she said she will call me a few days later to check out how I was doing. Also, she put me on the waiting list for a CT scan on my chest to see if I'm eligible for a thymectomy. I'm gonna have more updates on that later. When I knew all this, I felt so happy, so released, especially knowing that it wasn't my fault, that I wasn't making my body suffer this much. Today is day number 20 of taking the pills. I'm feeling 60% better today. My arms are back, my neck is also back, but I have noticed that if I do something for a long time, like doing the dishes, my neck starts to lose strength. So I have to wait for a couple minutes and then I'm fine again. Same with my mouth. If I'm doing something hard, I have to stop and recover. Or if I'm speaking for a long time, I start to slur my words and my lips get numb. So I have to stop for a while and then everything's back to normal in a couple minutes. My smile is mostly back, no droopy eye at all. My vision improved around 90%, and if I ever get double vision again, it's because it's time for me to take another pill. And some side effects that I'm having is that I'm sweatier than normal, and I produce lots of saliva, but nothing too bad. Looking at the positive side of all this, I can even say that I'm very grateful about all this, about how, when, and where it happened. Because of the Myasthenia Gravis, I was pushed to work on my anxiety, so today I can say that I'm anxiety free. I've learned to focus more on the things that I'm grateful for instead of focusing on the negative stuff. I have my job waiting for me for when I'm healthy again. Because of this, my friends and family, and even my political family have been supporting me and asking me how I'm doing every day, and this has made me feel very loved and cared about. This obviously was always the case, but today I feel it more. Because of MG, I have to learn to respect and listen to my body more, to eat healthier and to start a more active life. This taught me to appreciate more things that I couldn't do during those 2 months, like dancing, go for a walk, for swimming, ride a bike, or even simple things like walking to the store for milk. And even though I know there is no cure, today I'm more focused on manifesting my remission and living a healthier, stronger, and happier life. I hope this had helped you to learn about myasthenia gravis, and if you're going through the same path as me, please remember, you're bigger than this disease. And wherever you are, I'm sending you healing vibes your way. Thank you for listening, and see you the next time. Bye.